What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Kevin Broom. We're going to be talking about the Wizards game. I know it's a preseason game, but Kevin, I am fucking hyped right now, man. That was awesome. I mean, I don't have a better word for it than I'm just like really enthused about Wizards basketball, and I'm going to milk that for as long as that feeling lasts this season. So we'll take it.
Well, I mean, it's only the greatest performance in franchise history, so you know.
I did see a couple of those tweets, and honestly, you got to say it's like top 5 all time, maybe. Close.
It's
kind of an unsold guy. Made, like I don't think he ever did anything Jordan Poole just did.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that whole crap on this. I enjoy it. I mean, Jordan Poole hitting shots, that's fun. You know, making jokes about how he didn't swish one free throw, that was fun too. So, you know.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. What's up, Damo? How are you?
Hold on, give me 1 second. My audio is a little
no worries.
weird. Hold up.
All good, all good. So for everybody, while we're getting this ready, I'll get this out of the way. Brought to you by Stateside Vodka and the Surfside Hard Iced Teas, hard lemonades, hard everything. They're all good. Can't go wrong. Also brought to you by BetOnline. It's a Texas showdown in the postseason, and BetOnline is your number one source for all your baseball wagering needs. Up to the minute stats, scores, news, matchup breakdowns, all that good stuff. Also college football betting, you could do that stuff. If you wanted to bet on the Wizards for the preseason, you could bet on Jordan Poole's over-unders. Apparently take the over for forever. That's worth it. We have everything you need to stay up to speed on all the baseball playoffs. So head to the website today. Use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% off your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Damo, we were just weighing in on Jordan Poole being a fucking supernova. What did you think about him?
Hey, man. Bring on the pool party, man.
That's right. We're here. We're in it.
This is what I'm expecting to see. I mean,
every night, right? This exact performance every night.
No, I mean, obviously not every night, but
every other night I'll take. I'm not greedy. I'll take every other game.
Look, I think 41 points in 27 minutes on a nightly basis is completely reasonable.
I mean,
yeah, that's crazy. Like that's crazy. And I think he only did it was 41 on 19 shots. Like that's kind of crazy. But he's so dynamic with the ball, which is why I want to see him have it as the lead guard, push the pace and just kind of dictate flow. I think the Wizards are better off when he's doing that versus him kind of waiting on somebody else to get him the ball.
Yeah, you could just like immediately let him get into just cooking people, and that's what we're all here to see.
Yep.
Guys, I'm just irrationally excited about everything he did tonight, but I kind of thought he did other stuff, which I didn't know that we'd see at any point this season. Like I didn't find him to be a major problem defensively. He was actually like kind of good off ball and was helping people. Had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. So like, he's never going to be locked down, but he was at least active, maybe more active than we've seen from a star shooting guard the last couple of years on that end. Just to throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, Beal was certainly not the most dialed-in defensive player in the world. Interestingly, Jordan Poole, when I was looking at some of his numbers, the defensive metrics are kind of all over the place on him. But Box Plus Minus had said he was a more valuable defender than he was an offensive player in Golden State. So that's interesting. Now, I don't think that Jordan Poole was like secretly a good defender or anything, but I will say that I as you may know, tend to watch the opposing team's broadcast as often as I can, and they were really complimentary. Wally Zerbiak was filling in for Walt Frazier, and he was really complimentary of the Wizards' defense and how connected they seemed to be much of the night. And he said that very much in contrast to how the Knicks were kind of scattered defensively. Thibodeau is probably going to go off on them because of the number of rotations they missed. It was just kind of a lazy defensive game for the Knicks.
Right. I've not been shy about shitting on Wes Unseld Jr. when I don't think they're doing smart things, but in that Charlotte game, I noticed this a lot too. They're trying more stuff defensively, and they seem to be more active. Maybe it's an effort thing. Maybe they're just more engaged, and it was all stuff he was preaching last year. They got absolutely demolished on the boards and in the interior and things like that too. But I thought the overall defensive scheme seemed to be a little more creative than last year. Maybe that's just because they don't have 2 drop coverage bigs, so that there's more stuff they can do. I mean, last year they kind of had to do that for some stretches, but I don't know. I thought more than just the offense was interesting tonight at the very least.
Yeah, the no drop bigs definitely helps. I think Bilal's activity and length helps a lot too. I mean, he covers for a lot of mistakes out there,
Right.
just with his instincts, being able to read plays and just make breaks on the ball that you typically just don't see 19-year-olds make.
Yeah, but Coulibaly's defensive awareness is excellent. Sam Vecini did a really good video on that, and really echoing a lot of the things that we had talked about. With Oz the last time we did one of these, and so that was really good. And like you said, Jordan Poole did some good stuff. Tyus Jones was a little mixed, but there was some good. Now we always, it's preseason and you have to sort of tap the brakes just a little because the Knicks weren't. They were going hard and like a play here, a play there, but there were plenty of times where they were taking some possessions off, At least in comparison to how they typically grind in the regular season.
Yeah, that wasn't the grinded out, make you work Knicks team that I'm accustomed to seeing.
Yeah.
I heard Raja Bell tell this story the other day on his podcast on one of the Ringer shows about how in a preseason game when he was in Philly, they played against the Bulls and he had like 25 points on Jordan and was like getting to the rim at ease with Jordan guarding him. And he was like telling all his friends, like, yeah, I cooked MJ, like the league's not all that tough. And then they played them like the first week of the regular season. And Jordan just he was like, I literally couldn't get the ball across half court against Jordan.
Oh,
wow. Once he tried for real. So he was like, NBA players, especially veterans, do not give a shit about NBA preseason games. Yeah. So please pump the brakes when you see like a rookie do something good. But basically, with all due respect to Raja, fuck that. We're going to be really hyped about Bilal. I think everything he did was awesome. But can we talk about the real star of the game here for a minute? Just Mike Muscala. I mean, just what was that? Where did that come from? Prime Dirk, Prime Larry Bird, whoever you want to use. Like he was just, it wasn't like fluky shit either. Like they were all rhythm jumpers. And then once the confidence got going, you saw him like try to get to the hoop. He attacked a closeout. He had a couple like pull-up attempts. He even did like the 1 foot Dirk fade from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that move looks familiar.
Yeah, exactly. He studied some film this offseason on somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can shoot it, man. Let it fly. He's feeling it. Once he hit the first two, I was like, man, keep giving it to him.
Yeah. This is the thing with NBA players is these guys are all phenomenal basketball players, and you get them, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, that sort of thing. I mean, if they can get it going, they're tough to stop. I mean, this is just an example, pickup example back when I was in college, and this old guy comes into the gym, and I say old, he was probably like 45, right? And I'm 20 something. And as soon as he walks in the gym, everybody starts calling him School. And he taught a class at the university and would come in and run. And he, the first game, he was just throwing up a brick here, making a pass. And then I was guarding him the second game, and he hit this like fadeaway shot. And it's like you could just see like the confidence come into him. Yeah. And then he hits the next one, and then he hits the next, and then he's just hitting everything. And he just
came over at that point.
Just destroyed me. And it's like that's the way NBA players are. You get even the guys who quote unquote suck, the guys who are at the end of the bench, they are phenomenal players and incredibly skilled. And so it's cool to see Muscala being able to show that.
That's the Brian Scalabrine, right? Like I cook anybody in your rec center kind of.
Yeah, I love that video of the kid talking trash and Scalabrine destroying him one-on-one, after he's already out of the league and washed up, and then Scalabrine taking his shoes too. So, that's cool.
Before a Wizards game one time, of the like 8 games he played or 9 games, whatever it was, I saw Dwight Howard hit like 15 consecutive threes, and they were like not touching the net. Like the net didn't move. He was drilling them so easily. So that's not a guy that you think of as a shooter. So someone like Muscala, if you give him enough time, I think he's going to make you pay. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of to the point where like I would almost consider Mike Muscala, Wizards starting center. Is that totally crazy?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I promise I'm not just trying to overreact to the shooting, but it's the theory, the idea of the shooting at the very least, like giving the other guys in the starting lineup some spacing. If they're not going to be good defensively with Gafford out there anyway, and he kills you spacing wise, get a shit ton of threes up. Like it's what they said about Corey. Like we want you to be a volume shooter. And we've already seen that like Poole is going to draw enough attention to create some of these wide open looks for these guys. So I would at least maybe not starting, but closing at the very least. So you have to respect everybody on the court. I'd at least consider it.
I mean, I guess I'm thinking of it because I don't like the idea of possibly a Gafford, Bilal, Deni trio on the court at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you put Muscala there with Bilal and Deni, that kind of flows better versus a Kispert who might be, he's a little smaller. Yeah, I mean, if you can shoot it like that, hey man, I'm with it.
Yeah, all he has to do is go 5 for 5 every night, and then it totally works.
I think ultimately I wouldn't go that unless Gafford is kind of he demonstrates that he just isn't going to be the guy, like he can't play.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I think I would go ahead and stick with Gafford.
That's probably the smart move, but I just want to overreact. Okay, Kevin, don't be.
I mean, it's fun to see him knock shots down, and like I said, he can play. It's not like he's a bad player. It's just I think it's more realistic to think that Gafford's going to be Gafford's the guy.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy. It makes the most sense. It's just the problem I think they're going to run into, and we've all talked about this in some form, is just there's no really perfect here's the no-brainer 5-man group that makes the most sense. Like you either end up with a small backcourt if you start Tyus at Poole. You either end up with not enough spacing if you start Deni and Gafford, and potentially Bilal. There's still spacing concerns. So I just don't really know. It's an imperfect roster. We've talked about it. These guys aren't all here long term, so maybe it doesn't matter for this year. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what to do, and I just want them to try everything. I would try every possible combo at this point.
I mean, there's no reason not to. This is very much should be an experimental kind of year for them, and they ought to try a lot of different combinations and try guys in different roles. Let guys experiment a little bit. Certainly with. We talked about Coulibaly last time, but get him some on-ball reps, but also let him try some other things too. He doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be all one thing. So,
yeah, I really want to see a Poole Bilal backcourt. I want to see that. I haven't seen anything very impressive from Tyus that it's much different than what we saw from Monte at this point. I know it's just preseason, but I'm seeing some of the same stuff, man. Just kind of designated passer, not really threatening the rim, not really looking at the rim. I mean, he seemed to get more comfortable in the second half versus second unit. But I mean, against starters, he looks like just a guy. And when you saw it when he was out of the game and Poole got to push at a pace, even if it wasn't Poole making the pass himself for the assist, he was getting into the rim. That was swing, shot. Mm-hmm. Whereas Tyus just kind of comes up the court and then just hands it off or passes it off. And it's like he's not really an off-ball player shooter. So it's like, what are you on the floor doing in a half-court setting?
He hit one corner three tonight, and it looked really clean. And I was like, at least be the off-ball guy, be Bryn Forbes or whoever you need to be. Give some space to everybody else. But the floater, we need to bury the floater for a while he works out some kinks there. There were some rough floaters tonight.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the floater in general. And with Tyus, I mean, I've said this before, but I when I wrote my doppelganger story, 5 of Jones's top 10 statistical comps were seasons from Monte Morris. I mean, he really is the similarities. It was just freaky. And the more I kept looking, the more I kept finding similarities. I mean, they assist turnover ratio about the same. They drove about the same. They used the ball. They were used in pick and roll at about the same rate. Monte was a little more efficient. I mean, basically, Monte shoots a little better, Tyus is a little bit better of a playmaker, but about the same size, very similar style of game. They get to the paint, into the paint about the same rate. They shoot about the same number of free throws. It's like very much the same kind of guy. And I guess the hope is that the Wizards are hoping for is that, Jones getting into the starting lineup will, become a more dynamic player. But we'll see. Guys, at this point, he's 27, probably kind of is what he is, which is what he's been, and that's not bad. I mean, he's a good player, but it's just not, I think, what I think fans were hoping for.
A couple comments in the chat about Tyus. It never makes no sense. Said, curious if Tyus will look better in the regular season. He looks like he can't afford to go half speed. Yeah, his value is just let him be the guy to help push the ball, at least. When they slow things down, not much dynamism, I guess, in the half court from him. And then David Anthony said, we need to trade DeLon for a backup center because Ryan Rollins really is him. Donald, you and I had a lot of Ryan Rollins pre-draft stock here. Kevin, I can't remember where he was on Yoda. Where did you guys?
First, I think I had him as a late first.
So that's pretty reasonable too. What did you guys think of his performance tonight? Because I was really impressed.
I mean, the most impressive thing I saw was just his activity on the glass. Like he's just he's a dog, man. I mean, he came out with the reputation as like kind of a scorer combo guard. But I liked his activity on the glass. Like, I like guards that go after, chase rebounds, kind of flex on you, put it, get a tough lay over the defense and kind of flex on you. Like that to me kind of shows that grit, that toughness, some of it that you kind of lost losing like Jordan Goodwin, for instance. But I haven't watched a game of Rollins where I just came away and he just seemed out of place or the game was just too much for him. He looks solid, man.
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty good. Certainly the shots went in, and he had that nice athletic dunk. So that was cool. We'll see how he can develop into what kind of player he can develop into. But certainly tonight was encouraging, and made a good case that he can maybe take one of those last spots on the roster. He probably is going to end up spending some time in the G League this year, but he looks like he could be an NBA player. Tonight certainly was good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he tried to use the wingspan defensively. Like you see him like almost to the point of like slapping the floor a little bit. Like he just looks long, and he's one of the few guys where you look at and you're like, holy shit. If anybody, if you guys remember DeMarcus Nelson that played at Duke back in the early 2010s, he was 6'2" and a half with a 6'10" wingspan. That was the first guy I saw where I looked at him and was like, holy shit, those are the longest arms I've ever seen. I think that about Rollins every time too. Like he looks like he's got a wingspan, and you could kind of see that a little bit tonight. So to me, every time I see like a game this season where they're giving Landry Shamet like 17 minutes and Rollins is like at another DNP, I'm going to be just disappointed in that. Because like really, what's the point of the season if we're not going to let guys like this try to get out there a little bit? Like he should get more opportunities to do this. He may stink half the time, but like who cares this year?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean,
I agree with that in a lot of ways. And I think that he should play. I really think that, especially with some of these older guys, some of the guys who've been around for a while, like Shamet, like DeLon, I think a lot of those guys are going to get traded. And so even if we don't see much Ryan Rollins early through the first few months of the season, I wouldn't be too surprised if they make some deals before the trade deadline and we end up seeing Rollins playing, 15 minutes a night or something, February, March, April.
So you can see a situation where Rollins is maybe the backup point guard by February.
Yeah, because I think
one of the first guards off the bench.
Yeah, I could see that because I think, like I said, I think they're going to be trading Shamet, and I'm pretty sure they're going to trade Wright. And so at that point, you need bodies, and depending on if they get somebody back who's good, that's a possibility. But I really think that Rollins could end up getting a shot. He's got to stay motivated and keep working so that he's ready when that happens, if that happens.
Yeah.
Sam Hershey said in the chat, how do you get minutes for Rollins and Davis, assuming the plan is to develop these young players? I think it's going to be tough, to Kevin's point, to get both of them minutes, at this point in the season with all these other guys. So you probably don't get both of them minutes now unless it's in the G League. And hopefully that's something that changes over the course of the season. But I would imagine they're going to give Davis like real opportunities to be in the rotation once he's back and healthy. I don't know. As Oz pointed out, that was a really weird, dire tweet about like he'll be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks to see if he'll survive this ankle sprain or whatever it is.
And I think it was his elbow.
Elbow, that's right. Merle, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say with Davis, it's a shame that he's got hurt, but because I just wanted to see if he could do more on the offensive end, getting reps against some better players, against maybe some starting units or some like real NBA competition versus glorified G leaguers, that kind of thing. But we'll get that later, I guess.
This dude can't catch a break, though. I mean, between the hip stuff last year and the lower leg things, like getting hurt in the off season, getting hurt during the season again last year, and now like finally looks like maybe he had a little positive momentum, had a little confidence, and now like another injury. I don't know. Just sometimes you just like need to catch a couple breaks and be lucky at the right time and stay healthy long enough to get into a rotation, get a rhythm. I don't know. The guy's a little snake bitten so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine though. Especially if he's going to play early, he's going to be probably the backup 2 guard. Like he's going to play, so I think he'll be fine.
What's the role for him, Damo, that you see? Like, what is Johnny Davis in the NBA long term?
I keep saying it. I mean, we played against him tonight. It's Josh Hart to me. Like I think that's the 10-year plus career for him. I think where he's just like kind of play the 2 or the 3 defensive effort, play on the ball, occasionally play off the ball, knock down a shot here or there, maybe get you about 12, 14 points, be active on the glass. I mean, I would take that here because you need those kind of players. Those kind of players help you advance in the playoff. I think the Knicks got 3 of them between Grimes, Hart, and DiVincenzo. They're the same type of players to me. So if Johnny could be that type of guy, I mean, I would love that for the Wizards.
And it makes sense since they like Davis so much pre-draft in New York too. Like he just fits that mold, I guess.
Exactly.
He's got to shoot. I mean, that's the thing. That's probably the one biggest flaw in his game. Is if he can shoot, it unlocks a lot. If he can't shoot, that's because that's one of the things with Josh Hart. I mean, he was a reluctant shooter in Portland, but when he for whatever reason the Knicks were able to get him to just let it go, and he shot well, and his value went way up. And so if Davis can just, you got to just let it rip, really.
I talked about this on an earlier pod, and I can't remember who it was with at this point. I don't know if it was with you, Kevin, or it was with Jihadi at the time, but Dennis Gates, the Missouri coach, his big thing is literally just to tell guys to let it rip, like from wherever they touch it from, to the point of like penalizing them if they don't. And he came in, did that with those guys, and everyone on the team had like an immediate uptick in percentage, because it was like, if you catch it in rhythm, like in your shooting pocket, and you don't shoot it, like we will sit you down, no matter who it is and where it's from. You want that shit from Johnny Davis. Like, let it rip. I want to see Corey hoisted every time. I want to see Muscala hoisted every time. The 43s thing that they talked about on the broadcast tonight, Kevin, I don't know if you caught that. While you were listening to the Wizards.
I was watching the other team's broadcast.
Yeah, they said that's Wes Unselt's goal this year, is to have them shoot 43s a game, which would be a top 5 pace in the league. They were definitely over 40 tonight. I still think I would take the under if I were a betting man for the season average of under 43s a night, but they're holding to that so far. And that's really, I think, what this team has to do to kind of be competitive. Damo, I know you were leading the, hey, we need to play fast charge all off season too, but fast and a lot of threes. I think he tweeted it out tonight, and yes, agreed. And it seems like Wes knows that, whether or not he sticks to it.
Finally. Yeah, I mean, they had I think they had like 32 points off turnovers too. Like I just think that type of stuff, creating turnovers, getting out and running, and then shooting transition threes, that's going to keep you in a lot of games, because that to me is the great equalizer. You may not have, obviously, we don't have a top 10 player or probably even a top 30 player, but if you can create turnovers, get out and run, and make transition threes, you'll be in a lot of games.
Yeah, I'm fine with them trying to play fast. It's got to be smart. Fast isn't necessarily the best thing. You got to be efficient with it. Now, where playing fast I think helps is that if you're getting into transition more often, because you tend to get better shots in transition. Mm-hmm. So get it early. Get out there, run, get your shot, get a layup or a three early. And then if you don't get it, run your offense, get a good shot if you can. So playing fast, I think, is a good idea, but the emphasis needs to be on efficiency.
Yeah, this team's not doing a ton from a playmaking perspective. I don't think in half court. That was probably the most common thing I saw tweeted out on Wizards Twitter tonight was just like the half court offense was suspect at the very least. So
where's Jordan Poole? That was the half court offense.
Yeah, Jordan, right? Yeah. Jordan Poole and Mike Muscala catch and shoot threes is the offense for this team for the next 85 plus games.
Yeah, that's about right.
Damo, to your point about just getting hands on balls and deflections and things like that, you have Bilal, you have DeLon Wright. Jordan Poole was active tonight. Kuzma's been a pretty good deflections guy for most of his career. I think Deni has the ability to do it. That's probably one thing I think someone like Gafford could do. He's lithe, for a big man. He's got quick enough hands. Like, I would just have them be like ultra aggressive and try to do this stuff, not like Gafford chasing blocks on the 3-point line, closing out on people like that. But like get hands in passing lanes, be over aggressive. This is almost the old Eddie Jordan, Gilbert Arenas, Larry Hughes team where they just like shot the gap on like every single pass at the expense of the rest of their defense. But if you're not going to be good defensively or principled or disciplined, like just be crazy aggressive and kind of take guys out of their rhythm that way at least.
So hold on, I need to look this up. So, about the 5:30 mark in the first quarter, was one of my favorite plays because Coulibaly, I think he missed a layup. It was something happened, and he was sort of trailing the play, running back, and he was just kind of gliding on the way back, and he was like his man was running ahead of him to the corner, and it's like he saw it and just sort of picked up the speed like for 2 steps, and just as they threw the pass, and then just like that pterodactyl arm comes out. It was an incredible steal because I'm watching him come up the floor. I'm like, he needs to run a little faster if he's going to catch that guy.
Yeah, get back. Yeah.
And then suddenly he's stealing the ball because he's got this just crazy, crazy long arms. It reminds me of a guy I used to play pickup with. Another story, but he's a little short guy. He's only about 5'7", but he had probably like a 6'8" wingspan. And if you pass the ball near him, he would just steal it because he just had these crazy long arms. He's always like just reaching up, snagging the ball. And
it seems like that.
So anyway, it reminded me of that kind of steal. It was a hell of a steal. And it was about a minute before he came down. He did that crazy Euro step. That was also in the first quarter, and he missed the shot, but that was a hell of a move.
He was 2 for 5 from the floor, something like that tonight.
1 for 5. 1 for 5.
7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, which is great. At the 3:10 mark in the first quarter, he missed a wide open 3, got his own rebound, looked at it for a half second, and then kicked it to Gallo, who had a slightly worse 3-point attempt. And I was literally just screaming at my computer, shoot that.
Yeah, same thing. Same.
Missing the first one, it seemed like kind of maybe the confidence went away a little bit there. So that's something I hope they encourage him to. So film study tomorrow, I hope somebody is like beating him over the head to like just hoist that thing, because I'd rather see him shoot it than Gallo shoot it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got the Wizards numbers in, by the way, and he ended up with a 158 PPA for the game. That's
So
cool.
for anyone not familiar with PPA, give us a little tutorial. What does that mean in context?
So PPA is my overall rating or production metric, and so it includes it counts for pace, it counts for position, role on the team, it accounts for defense as well, and so which is part of the reason why it's so high, and because a guy goes 1 for 5, typically they're going to have a below average. So in PPA, 100 is average, higher is better. Replacement level is about 45. And so 158 is a really good score, and it's really even more impressive because he did it with a 1 for 5 shooting night. So that's pretty good. He did make all his free throws, 4 free throws, so that's part of why it's 4 free throws and a 3 were his offense, and no turnovers. So and the 3 steals is big, especially because it wasn't like he was running around like Gilbert Arenas, just trying to catch Larry in steals. He was doing it by genuine ball
hawking. Damo, I guess, did you see anything from Deni tonight that leads you to believe there's been some off-season improvement? Are we going to see a better Deni this year? Did anything show you some encouraging signs or anything that you like seeing tonight?
I hope so, man. He still looks like he's still kind of getting back into the swing of things with the injury, and that sucks for him because it's like I feel like this obviously is a big season for him in a contract year, and it just seems like he can't seem to be healthy for a full training camp. Yeah. But I like the pull up, that midi pull up, because it seems like he rarely
that
ever.
Was the one moment I think we can all cling to of yes.
Yeah, and then I think there was one time where he went at, I think it was his first shot attempt. He went at Randall, did kind of like a step back, but then he didn't shoot it, and then he tried to do an up and under. I would have liked for him to just shoot the step back, but just that he even tried something other than a catch and shoot 3 or like a floater, something that shows a little bit more of his in between game at 6'9". And then I liked his physicality with Randall. Kind of banging with him, because I think that's probably his best spot long term is at the 4. So you're gonna have to guard guys like that, and if you want to be a starter in this league, well, Julius Randle is going to be your assignment on some nights, and he's a physical guy. So, but he looks like he still needs some more time to kind of get back into the swing of it with the injury.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to point to that same shot. I mean, it's the only shot he made on the night, so maybe it stood out. But it was still good to see him make a move, pull up, shoot it. That's not something he really had in his repertoire last season, or even any of his first 3 seasons. I didn't love the 3-point shots. He missed them. They weren't close. I did like his rebounding. He ended up with 3 assists. He had a couple of pretty nice passes, only 1 turnover, so that's not bad. He looked kind of the same, but we'll see. It's only 15 minutes, so we'll see.
I think I agree with both of you kind of completely here. The 3-point shooting was the one where I was hoping to see a little bit more. And I don't really care that he missed them, but the form looks exactly the same from last season, at least on the standstill catch and shoot 3s. He took one that was kind of short front rim, and it was just that's just the way he seemingly missed every shot for the last 3.5 years. So that was a little disappointing. You guys mentioned the defense. I would much rather see him guard the Julius Randles than the Jalen Brunsons. I think that suits him better to be well positioned to cut off bigger guys like that. And Randall's gonna bulldoze pretty much anybody who guards him at least 2 or 3 times a game. So I'm not too worried about that. Drew Gooden pointed out 2 times where he should have probably taken a charge, and I think Drew was 100% right. But also, that's also sort of tough. That's a big dude coming at you too. So I don't kind of blame him in the preseason for not taking one for the team there.
Yeah, I mean, first I think taking charges, although that was kind of at times the only thing I could do when I played, but taking charges is kind of it's often just a dangerous kind of chicken shit play. So I would rather just stand up and play defense. But also, it's a preseason game, and he's coming back from a back injury. And, I think it makes sense to make a business decision and say, I'm not going to get run over by a 250-pound truck
Yeah.
when I don't have
250
to.
dropping the shoulder and you coming off a back injury, I'm gonna sit that one out.
And you feel 40 years old the next morning if you're Deni, if you take that one from Joe.
I mean, he definitely gave an effort. Randall beat him, but I mean, Randall is a good player.
I would have liked to see Michael Foster Jr. in a couple of those minutes tonight before the stretch big version of Taj Gibson or even Xavier Cooks or any of these guys. I didn't even see Foster Jr. on the bench, so maybe he wasn't there or available. I don't know, but like, why not see if these guys can get a couple minutes? Just from the other young guys, curious if anyone stood out to you or give you my take really quickly. Butler didn't really do much, Jared Butler, but I still kind of liked what he did. He seemed perfectly solid and serviceable in his couple minutes. Didn't really see anything from Patrick Baldwin Jr. that I found particularly impressive. Like, if you have two wide open threes with half the court wide open, you should probably hit one of the two. But I don't know. It's still early, so maybe I can't read too much into that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't. Patrick Baldwin, I thought. Yeah, I was like, you got to hit one of those, man. Like, it was so wide open. But I mean, I understand. You know, you hadn't played the whole game. You haven't played much preseason at all, so he's probably not in rhythm. Yeah, coming off injury, so he's probably not in rhythm either. And I didn't really see much from any of the other young guys that really grabbed my eye.
Yeah, with Baldwin, I think if you're going to be a great shooter, I mean, if your reputation is that you're supposed to be a great shooter,
you should probably make shots at some point.
Yeah, you probably should make shots. I did like the block shot that he had, and I remember pre-draft he measured at basically the average height of a center, and I still kind of think I would be willing to give him a shot there as a small ball, backup five. He's shorter, but he's really long armed, and if he can actually make threes, here's the thing. He's not exactly working out at forward, so I would be willing to give him a shot there. And then Jared Butler, I loved one move. He missed the shot, and but there were several possessions where he was just pounding the air out of the ball, and run the offense. You've got to initiate things, get it moving.
He was also with Taj for one of those, and I think maybe even Taj and Gallo at one point. I don't know how you run any offense with the two slowest people in the league out there with you. That's tough.
You have them set screens and then just step back and shoot the three.
Yeah, just a double screen and shoot behind them. So, Kevin, you mentioned the Patrick Baldwin Jr. at the 5 idea. I think I kind of like that, to be honest with you. Like, he's maybe more of a mismatch and let him just run the floor really hard. He can put the ball on the deck a little bit. I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast earlier today where he talked about Steve Kerr told him directly the whole coaching staff was enamored with what Paolo Banchero can do, even more than we saw in the games, but stuff they saw in practice every day. Of the idea of playing him at the 5 more is sort of his long-term, like, unlock his super potential kind of move, because he's big enough to bang with people. People aren't going to want to chase him at the 5, and he can do all these other things. He can play make, at least theoretically can shoot. Could Patrick Baldwin Jr. be your third string version of Paolo Banchero in Washington? I don't know, but it's intriguing that the league maybe has some other guys that they want to try, to do that with. So maybe that's an experiment that's at least worth a few minutes. And if he ends up on the go-go this year, start him at 5. Like, see if he can do any of it. Like, that's the time to just experiment.
I would give it a shot. What do you have to lose? It's not like I said, it's not like he's working out big time, at least so far at another position. So give it a shot and see, because the secret of like small ball is it's really skill ball. And so if you can do it and still have size, you can get there. The big question I would have with him is, one, is he going to make shots? But then the other question is, can he defend? Is he going to be able to do rim protection? He seemed like he would be mobile for a 5. And so perhaps you could do some switching kinds of things if he would really commit. And I will say a lot of this is going to depend on, how hard is he going to work at whatever role it is that's going to work out for him. And, that's critical. So whether it's going to be a 5 or a forward, I think he's going to have to put in a lot of work on his body and his game if he wants to be a successful NBA player.
Agreed. He's definitely got to get more physical. He's never been that type of physical player.
Which is another flaw in my theory that maybe he would be best as a small 5. So.
Jihadi said this on the pod once, but he saw him a lot on the AAU circuit and said like the comp everybody had for him back then was Lamar Odom because he was like going coast to coast with stuff and grab and go everything. Like maybe you could do that again with him at the 5, and at least that's a mismatch for some people. David Anthony has a comment in the chat. I'd be interested in seeing lineups where Kuzma is playing center. I think that's like kind of the same principle. So I'm not mad at it too. Like we talked about, try literally every single possible combination this year and find out what works for you in years where you're actually relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up for it. Kuzma's a big guy, and I don't see why he couldn't, play there.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Robert Williams is small. Now, Robert Williams is also a freak athlete with like really long arms, but still, there are small guys who have been successful at center. So I wouldn't just preclude using Kuzma at that spot.
Sam Hershey asked at this point, what justification would there be by Wes to start Deni over Coulibaly? I'm going to take that one for us guys. It's Wes and it's the Wizards, the end. That's pretty much all there is to it. And it never makes no sense said, do you guys make anything of the clip floating around about Deni being upset with Poole? I did not see this. I don't know if you guys know what he's talking about or not. I wouldn't read too much into that though, personally, without having seen it.
What he's talking about is there's a clip where Poole is making moves on one side of the court, and Deni was wide open at the 3-point line, holding his arms up like, "Hey, I'm here, pass the ball," and Poole takes a shot, and Deni sort of throws his arms down in disgust, and so that's the clip that's circulating. It's up on Twitter. You'll see it if you look around for a few minutes.
Oh, I hadn't seen that one.
Say again.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one. That's interesting.
I think that's bad. Some bad body language. You don't want that.
He's been doing that since his rookie year, though. There was a play as a rookie where he did that to Bertans. Bertans shot a contested 3 with Deni wide open in the corner, and he was like demonstrative, and like Bertans like bitched him out on the bench. So that's sort of not a new thing. I think Deni's a fiery guy. I wouldn't take too much from it, but it's also not what you want to see from your longest tenured Wizard, because we're going to mention that this is going to be this year's triple-double. Every single broadcast, they will mention at least twice that he's the longest tenured Wizard. I would take the over on 175 times we hear that on broadcasts this year.
Yeah, I mean, Avdija doesn't shoot well enough to be mad that nobody gives him the ball at the 3-point.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I'm just like, I think I'd rather have Jordan Poole shoot a contested 3 than Deni shoot a wide open. So I just don't understand why that would be what he would do. But, all these guys have egos of some sort.
I mean, he wants to play. The positive part of it is he wants the ball. He wants to be able to show what he can do. Maybe he's been shooting better in practice and that kind of stuff. And so he's thinking, give me the ball so I can show it in the game. That's fine. But you can't do that, showing up your team in like that. You can't. It's bad. That's the kind of thing you got to address internally, not with that kind of body language.
Yeah, I had a youth league coach that told another teammate of mine one time that there's a reason you're open. I think that just
right.
You have to kind of remember that sometimes, and also for your teammates, if they're not passing you the ball when you're that wide open, sometimes it's there on being a little too selfish, but a lot of times it's because they don't have confidence or faith in you to make that shot either, and that also is telling that they're not seeing something from you in practice that leads them to believe that's knockdown. If Corey is wide open in the corner, he's probably going to get that pass.
He's getting that.
Yep, absolutely.
We beat this one up pretty good, fellas, for a preseason game. Any parting shots, thoughts, comments you want to get off your chest here before we get out of here?
Take the over.
Yeah, I think that the probably if I was betting, I might take the under. So I don't bet. I haven't finished the forecast though. That's coming.
I would hammer the over too. I'll be honest with you. Like, yes, they're going to trade a lot of guys off, but how many? Like the year the Wizards snuck into the playoffs last. Remember that like torrid stretch down the end of the season where just like other teams were resting everyone. Like sometimes March basketball in the NBA is just really bad. And if you've got like a lot of young, fresh, hungry dudes, you can win a lot of games. So if they're committed to just playing like fast and even a bunch of threes up, I think there's a real chance that they beat anybody, down the stretch when those teams are already kind of like checked out on playoff seeding and things like that.
On the other hand, the Wizards don't want to win a lot of games. They want to,
That's true.
A high draft pick. So that they may be the ones in March, resting people with, a fractured hangnail or whatever.
Turf finger, whatever it is. Anybody has any last comments or questions in the chat? Throw them in here real quick. We're about to wrap this thing up. The Wizards' next game is Friday at 7:30 p.m. At Toronto. It always seems like the Wizards have the least amount of home preseason games of all time. I don't know if Ted is leasing it out to the circus or something right now that we can't get in our own building.
They had two, right?
Right, and I think that might be it for the preseason.
Yeah, but they only played 4, so I mean.
Oh shit! I thought they had 5. Sorry. Last year I thought they only had 1. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining things, but it always feels to me like they have less than the rest. So. Any thoughts or predictions or key things you guys are looking forward to seeing from them against Toronto in the last game?
I just want to see more of Coulibaly. I want to see him get a little more, offensive action, and see what he can do if they try to give him the ball a little more often. This is another 12.7% usage rate. I understand Jordan Poole is cooking, but and he ended up with a 47% usage rate. So, I would like to see Coulibaly have a chance to really grow into the kind of player that we Wizards have to hope he can become.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what this half-court offense looks against Toronto's length.
Yeah.
And activity. Because, the half-court offense today did not look good. It was just, Poole was hot, but, and then Muscala hit some threes. But outside of that, it wasn't really impressive half-court execution. And Toronto is going to try to turn you over and get out and run. So I want to see how we deal with that. And I wouldn't mind seeing Bilal, like Broom said, just on the ball, run some pick and roll with him. Kind of see how he looks juxtaposed to the length that Toronto has.
I want to see him with Scotty Barnes because it's like that's the Spider-Man meme thing,
Yeah.
Except Coulibaly has a much better looking jump shot, so take that, Scotty Barnes.
Yes. He does, yeah. That is true.
In the chat, Mark Reebok said, "I'm just happy we're looking to properly build and hopefully give the young guys a chance to develop." Well said, Mark. I think every single person who is following this or listening to this or has chimed in tonight is probably of the same opinion. So hopefully, like you guys said, I don't think we need to see a ton of Jordan Poole in this last game. I don't know that we need to see a ton of Corey. Let Deni stretch his legs a little bit and then just ease these kind of young guys in there. I think it's like, if this was a meaningful regular season game, from what I understand, Kuzma could have played tonight. So I'm glad that they were just like, hey, let's not push it. And for all the veteran guys, we don't need to see you. So let's see if Xavier Cooks can even do anything. Any of these other guys we haven't seen much from. The last preseason game should be about. Cool. Well, guys, thank you for doing this and making some time in your evening. Thanks to everybody who listened to this. If you guys like this format, let us know. Drop it in the chat or the comments. If you hit that little thumbs up button, that's always good for us too. There's a little subscribe button somewhere on there too for the folks watching this on YouTube. So that's always appreciated. And like I said, feedback is great. If you want us to do this, if there's a certain format or things you want us to cover, And then last question I got for you guys. I teased this in the Bulls Forever write up for this. I was gonna ask, who would your player of the game be? So this is a relatively easy one, I would think. So let's all take Jordan Poole off the table. Who would your player of the game be after that?
I'm gonna go with Mike, man. I'm gonna go with Mike Muscala.
It's a pretty good one.
Since you took him, I can't take him. So let's see. I will go with. Let me go ahead and go with Coulibaly. I love the 3 steals. That one play was just amazing. The steal I described earlier, and he also had that just crazy slow down Euro step that he missed shot, but it was still a heck of a move. So I'll go with Coulibaly.
I'm going to cheat a little bit, and for player of the game, I'm actually going to go coach of the game and say Landon Tatum. They let him talk at halftime, and I kind of liked what he was about. He's also their lead player development guy and going to be the coach of the Go-Go this year. So shout out to him. I think if the Wizards are where we want them to be in the next couple of years, it's because Tatum and his team of guys have helped a lot with these guys' development and things like that. So shout out to him. Cool. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys, for the time. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This was a Believe in Wizards podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, all good stuff. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.